Hey, how's it going guys? My name is Zealwood and today we're taking a look at Psi-Ops, the Mindgate Conspiracy, an early 2000s title originally released on the PS2, and to answer the ultimate question, is it worth your time? So, Psi-Ops is a single-player action sci-fi third-person shooter. Set on a futuristic version of Earth, you take on the role of a brainwashed military veteran taken prisoner by a terrorist organization known as the Movement. You'll be taking down many technologically advanced enemies using a powerful selection of psychic abilities, all in hopes of recovering your lost memories and uncovering this Mindgate conspiracy. So aesthetically, you may be wondering, how can an old PlayStation 2 title released back in 2004 possibly look this good in 2021? And that, my lovely viewers, is because a PC port was released by the developers back in 2008, which funny enough is the version I've decided to review. Thanks to enhanced 3D assets, 60 FPS gameplay and widescreen possibilities, you get a fresh, smooth yet familiar visual experience, which when compared to the original release makes me wish I discovered this version 10 years earlier. Colours used are quite pale, ashy and rusted throughout, giving all areas of the game an undeniably industrialised, weathered look to them, providing a far more crude, futuristic setting as opposed to a flawless, utopic one. Considering the PC version is simply a port of the original game, the lighting effects are actually very impressive. Realistic underfoot shadows, subtle environmental lighting, and even cutscene specific lighting is pretty decent. Other effects like the various Psi-based particle effects, aura lighting, and the many different explosions and screen effects throughout are all very nice and really impressed me back in my PS2 days. Textures and detail are also just as good, lovingly simple, minimal surface designs with easily distinguishable materials, surprisingly accurate gloss effects, and little to no ground clutter. The game also retains its impressive texture shading from the original. This provides a strong lighting illusion to both wall and floor surfaces to make you believe that the indoor lighting is far stronger than it actually is. Very impressive. The UI is absolutely fine, health and psi energy bars, equipped weapon and ammo indicators, as well as subtle, low opacity frame designs for that added futuristic touch. Other screens like the various menus, inventory and map are of course very handy and come with decent border opacity and designs. I'll be surprised if you ever actually use the map, mind you, due to the game's very impressive level designs. All areas are quite linear, come with very unique layouts, and sometimes branch off in 2 or 3 directions maximum to ensure a light, memorable backtracking experience when figuring out mini puzzles or opening previously locked doors. Character and enemy designs though are surprisingly realistic for the 2004 PS2 release and come with great animations and ragdoll physics, which funny enough was one of the game's biggest selling points back in the day. All units come with realistic attack animations, respond well to specific damage taken, and clearly mix things up a bit with their more unusual or otherworldly creature designs. Running animations when changing direction are definitely aged, melee combat mechanics are simple and smooth, and your many different Psi abilities look and feel good to use and abuse. The facial designs during cutscenes however can overpower character faces completely, resulting in some crazy scenes that can't help but bring a smile to your face. Boss fights are exceptionally good though, out of the box, interesting designs that kept me on the edge of my seat as a kid and forced me to think creatively. All in all, a very impressive, interesting visual standard that thanks to the PC port provides an even higher level of visual immersion. The OSTs of Psi-Ops are very decent, somewhat subtle, high reverb SFX sounds used to create a distinct yet mysterious stealth-like ambience, complete with metallic chimes, military drums and looming high-pitched notes that naturally put you into a covert mindset, especially on the harder difficulties. Each track is surprisingly good quality, straight to the point, but do seem to be a touch too quiet when compared to the in-game sounds most of the time. Combat and boss tracks however are far more dramatic, upbeat and intense, sporting the occasional vocals, guitar riffs and trumpets, all while providing a memorable main melody, perfect for the many hostile situations you'll be finding yourself in. Everything else sound related, like underfoot textures, environmental machinery, and the many weapons and skills available, all sound great and provide an immersive audio experience even today. The game also provides you with fully voiced cutscenes and in-game chatter from talented voice actors that get the job done no problem. Overall, an impressive soundtrack quality that balances both secrecy and intensity very well. Now for the gameplay. So Psi-Ops does indeed have a few difficulty options to choose from before you play. You can choose between easy, normal, hard and elite. Since I'm already used to the game, I personally prefer to play on hard mode, but the difference between each mode seems to be more damage taken and more enemy spawns the higher the difficulty selected. Although elite mode sounds impossible, the game is actually easier than you'd expect once you learn how to take your time, avoid damage taken and conserve your consumables. The lore of the game is very to the point, easy to follow and highly engaging. So as mentioned, you take on the role of a brainwashed military veteran named Scryer. You end up becoming a prisoner of a terrorist organization, get transported to a prisoner processing facility, slowly recall your forgotten psychic abilities and uncover a very elaborate conspiracy. Due to the story being very direct very quickly, I can't elaborate any further without risk of spoilers. When you first start the game, you're shown a couple of cinematics and cutscenes which show Scryer becoming a prisoner of the movement. You then wake up in your cell room, get a helping hand from a friendly stranger, take control of your character and play. As with other action third-person shooters, you've got your general movement controls as you'd expect, as well as the ability to fire your weapon, melee attack, lock on, and of course use your many different psychic abilities. Weapon options are quite limited in this game, but you do have access to your classic pistol, shotgun, AR and sniper rifle bundle. Melee is surprisingly effective and does come with a one-shot sneak attack when hitting unsuspecting enemies from behind. Lock-on mechanics are similar to Dark Souls targeting and prove to be very effective, especially when locking on to heavy objects you'd like to sling around. And finally, the psychic abilities. There are 6 skills in total. These include telekinesis, pyrokinesis, mind drain, mind control, remote view and aura view, all of which have been abbreviated for your in-game convenience. TK is your bread and butter psychic ability that allows you to pick up objects, enemies, grenades, consumables, etc. and simply throw them in a direction of your choice. PK is when you create a wave of fire with your arm that travels to the target location to burn objects and enemies. MD is using a corpse's latent psi energy to simply restore your own. This can be used on live targets however, provided they're not facing you, but may result in a cranium overload. MC is to simply take full control of a certain weak-minded target and control them as if they were Scryer. RV is basically leaving your body in a ghost-like form to scout ahead or through unopened doors, and AV is to view an alternative dimension which allows you to see objects, creatures, and points of interest that can't be seen with a naked eye. The base concept of the game is exactly as expected. You take on progressively harder stages via a mission-like system, prioritize stealth to conserve resources, utilize your many psychic abilities, dispatch hostile targets, unlock doors, take on bosses, solve a few puzzles, and much more. What makes Psi-Ops unique, however, is its brilliantly simple assistance and training mechanics, its very specialized boss fights, and of course its out-of-the-box combat system. As you play the game normally, you'll experience the occasional vision cutscene that visually describes what you need to do next to progress that particular stage. These mini clips are very helpful during your first ever playthrough and really helped me out the first time I played this game as a kid. You'll also notice that your psychic abilities are progressively unlocked as you advance. Once a new one is acquired, you're brought to a flashback training stage where you're shown how to use each ability effectively. These stages are again very helpful and provide a nice break from your progression to mess around with your newly unlocked skill, even when you've already mastered them. As you take on each boss fight, you'll start to notice that most of them are actually specialized masters in one of the 6 psychic abilities available to your character. This provides a very immersive touch approach to each battle that forces you to think externally and really stresses the fact that your abilities are a pathetic baby version in comparison to theirs, which each of them loves to demonstrate constantly. Which, funny enough, brings me to the game's combat. The combination of TK, PK, firearms and mind control are extremely effective in most combat situations. Slamming enemies at walls or each other sends them into recovery animations which you can quickly exploit with bullets or fire. Enemies get far more aggressive as you progress the game, with units starting to shoot back when PK lifted, send you flying with powerful kicks, and towards the second half of the game are practically immune to all forms of psychic damage due to powerful tech suits and strategically located units. Psi-Ops is somewhat a stealth-orientated game, however, due to the many security cameras, automated turrets and alarm systems you need to keep an eye out for, especially on harder difficulties where triggered alarms spawn multiple tech suit units to whoop your ass if you're not careful. The fact that Mind Drain can be used on both unaware targets as well as corpses though really promotes high use of your Psi abilities constantly, even though all skills reduce your Psi bar by some amount. If you can Mind Drain a standing target, you will restore close to a full bar of Psi energy, which allows you to simply abuse the resource and makes combat incredibly fun. I wouldn't be surprised if you can complete the whole game without firing a single bullet too. Clearly an outstanding gameplay standard that, thanks to the PC port, looks and feels just as good as I remember. So for the ultimate question, is it worth your time? Psi-Ops provides a unique gaming experience which encourages covert tactics, high ability usage and raw aggressive fun. This, combined with an out-of-the-box concept and to-the-point storyline, allows it to remain an immersive sci-fi shooter more than 15 years later. I'm going to give this game a 4.5 star or 90 out of 100. I've literally not played this game since I was 14 years old, and when I did, I smashed it, sometimes days at a time, tackling the various difficulties, bonus missions, training stages, boss rush mode and more. I simply cannot think of another game in more need of a sequel. I love the overdramatic song and dance they do for unlocking a new Psi ability. I love the surprising amount of blood and gore from exploding heads and blowing up corpses. I love how powerful your TK, PK and mind control abilities are, the simple yet effective sneak mechanics, the brief yet accurate objective tracker, the importance of Mind Drain to restore your Psi energy, the simple yet effective linear travel paths, the final boss fight is brilliant, how your character auto reloads when not firing a weapon, the many alternative skins available after your first run, and much more. It's quite a shame that the PC version doesn't come with controller support. Manually saving the game is pretty much pointless as it puts you back to a previous checkpoint anyway, and the fact that widescreen isn't actually supported either. You can luckily download a small fix from a modding site to enable widescreen. This, however, causes problems with in-game cutscenes and cinematics. Not enough to hinder your actual immersion in my opinion, but enough to be considered a slight annoyance. But most importantly, Psi-Ops was made a freeware game back in 2018. This means anyone can download it and play completely free of charge. Now that's what I call a bargain. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if you want to see more games I'll be reviewing in future, and to those of you who are subscribed already, I thank you. If by chance you are interested in trying out this freeware PC port, I've left a download link in the description for your convenience. But as always, all the best guys, take care.
But don't worry, these guys get well paid.